Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
I'm Ben Matlock.
And I'm going to include weird tempo in my speech today.
Well, it's good that it's my turn to do most of the talking.
Yeah, I think it was really that I was having a little mini stroke there at the start of the show.
I get that. Yeah. There's a certain point where it's like, okay, I'm hitting record, and your brain's just like, fuck that, don't do that. And like everything about your body like resists it.
Yep.
That's the closest thing I get to exercise is like willing my body to do this show every week. As I shove donuts and soda down my stupid throat.
It's a makeup for last week when you were decidedly, under Taco Bell'd.
Yeah, I was gypped. I was sold a bill of goods, a literal bill of goods.
What's funny is the Friday after we recorded, after you had that whole, I don't want to say rant, because it wasn't really a rant, just discussion about being short a burrito.
It was a rant. I was pissed. It was a cry-a-thon.
We ended up getting McDonald's. The long story is ended up being a later night than we expected. So
they forget something.
Yeah, they forgot the chicken nuggets.
I'm gonna bomb that building too.
Yeah, right. I told Tara, I'm like, it's kind of what it would almost be karma if I was like making fun of you for like haha, you didn't get your food. But I feel like I identified with you. Like I thought I was pretty empathetic there. I'm
pretty good at like, if you empathize with me too much, I will pass the condition on to you.
Like, oh, you think you know what it's like? Well, here, now you're going to know what it's like.
The general rule in life is if you're a prick, less bad shit will happen to you, apparently. So you should have been more like, dumbass. So,
So there was just a spate of bad fast foodery last week, but...
and then I got the talk. I had the revenge tour on Sunday. So I got Taco Bell again. Or no, it was Monday. And what a way to, like, Memorial Day. But I got all the Taco Bell I wanted originally, and then some. And then I got fucking super sick Tuesday morning.
Yeah. I mean, that's a normal risk you take with Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And then having Taco Bell like twice in a 4-day period, and then eating more of it than you probably should. It's really like the logical...
But it was kind of the... I'm not going to lie. Like, this is gross. So, see you next week if you don't want to hear about it. But it was like an immediate, like, Tuesday morning. You kind of, like, I woke up an hour before my alarm, just sort of feeling like your stomach's off. Like, and you're just like, and I wasn't like, I wonder why my tummy hurts. Like, I knew exactly what I've done to myself.
Why, yeah.
So I went to the bathroom, but nothing had really gone, like, not much happened. It was nothing out of the ordinary. I was like, that's weird, because my stomach still felt off. But I went to work, and like 20 minutes in, I was just like, I'm not going to be able to work like this.
Yeah.
Like, it suddenly flipped from my tummy feels off to like, I'm about to like pop like a balloon. And I ran to the bathroom, and it was just every like nightmare diarrhea in a public restroom story you could imagine. I lived it all in 10 minutes.
Only thing that can make it worse is like as soon as you sit down and start going, like for some reason a local news shows up to do a segment on something else, and you're just and once you start, you can't stop.
Fuck that. I want to tell my story. Bring the cameraman in here. I want them to know where I went wrong.
At least you were somewhere with plumbing. I had the traumatic experience. I this week I've slacked off, but I usually go for like
I shit everywhere.
Shit everywhere, yeah. I usually go for about a 2.5 mile walk. It's about an hour, so I don't really measure the distance. It's more time. In the mornings, like when I first get up. And like 2 weeks ago, it was one of those where you're like at the exact halfway point, so as far away from home as you can be. And all of a sudden, my stomach's just like, yeah, I need to go right now.
Yeah.
And that was a fucking photo finish. You know, if you've ever had to walk a mile and a half, like, while battling, like, to hold it in.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, like, even as I could finally, like, see my house, like, halfway down the block, your brain's kind of just weighing the, like, how bad would it really be if I just said fuck it?
Yeah.
And it's like, but I'm a grown-ass adult. It would be terrible.
Yeah. Well, I was like...
And I made it, but man, that was like the worst, like, 20 minutes I've had in a long time.
Yeah, it was like a half an hour of like... So like 20 minutes of just like pure anxiety of like... Am I going to like destroy a bathroom or worse, shit my pants? Like, seriously, has it come to this?
Yeah.
And then like the next 10 minutes, it's like, I'm destroying this bathroom.
I guess that's the trade-off.
I'm a criminal.
Like, at least you were close to plumbing, but in your situation, if you don't make it, that's horrible because you're at work around people that know you.
Yeah.
And there's no escaping that. At least in mine, like, if I didn't make it back, it's like 6:30 in the morning in the middle of a neighborhood. Likely nobody will even see me. Like, so that's the trade-off.
Yeah.
But,
like, if I had shit my pants, I don't know how I would have played it. Like, just run away crying.
Did everybody see that guy? That guy just shit my pants and ran away.
Someone put shit in my pants. But no, I was even like, in the moment, I was even thinking about like what you said on the show about how they probably did me a favor by shorting me one burrito, because that was probably the line.
Right.
And, you know, well, but what is kind of funny about those moments like that, like, it's not full-blown food poisoning, so you're not down for the count, but you do feel like shit in that moment. But then you, like, leave the ruined bathroom you left behind, and it's like the Nutty Professor. Like, you went in just like a fucking monster, and then you come out all like, man, I feel good.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's the worst is when you feel... you know, I'm just not feeling right, and you go to the bathroom and you feel the same afterwards because you're like, there's more in there and it wants to ambush me. Like,
yeah,
it's depriving you of that feeling of like, okay, well, that's at least like done.
I've made numerous poop jokes on Twitter, but that's
about all you do.
Pretty much.
It's like 90%.
Yeah, but you know what? Everybody else wants to tweet about like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I think I'm beating them. That's just
I do too.
But like specifically, I've gotten like really existential with it. And it comes from a place of truth where it's like, you know, you think of the cliche like, oh, I'm sitting in a stall and like you hear like grunts and, you know, moans of agony and shit. But what ends up coming out of my mouth is always like just like very vague, like, I want something better. And I don't know even what I'm referring to in those moments. I just wish things were different.
Yeah. Just in general, not even related to the, well,
it's related, but not.
Yeah, I was going to say not
specific.
excluding this, but yeah.
This is just the next domino in like all the ways I think the world has wronged me. Anywho, I mean, I could keep going for 30 minutes if we just want to talk about poop.
Yeah, well, and so we haven't even hit on the like whole thing where these situations occur and you're out or you're at somebody else's house or in public, and then you turn and realize that they have that god awful one ply bullshit.
Yeah, it's just the shit they have at work, but it's like, I'll use all of it. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to force my hand, like you're going to be spending a lot on one ply toilet paper. But the thing is, when your body decides like it's everything must go, like you know, that's actually a pretty thorough cleanup.
Yeah.
For you,
well,
the janitor will hate you forever.
That's why, and my wife thinks I'm weird like that, but like those mornings where your stomach's just not necessarily like the emergency, I ate too much Taco Bell off. Those levels are just awful and you just whatever. But when you're not feeling just right, I love that's like coffee is my go-to, and Tara's always like, if my stomach hurts, like last thing I want is coffee. I'm like, but it's like the emergency eject button.
I'm totally with you, dude. Like,
yeah,
that is
like it's gonna happen anyway. You might as well get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and your body is like. At least mine is. It's like trained to recognize, like, oh, coffee. I know what this means. Like,
yep.
Even when it's not true, and I just wanted some coffee, it just like your body starts to learn routines, and they're rarely in your favor.
That's what's funny with me though, because coffee doesn't usually, like everybody talks about, like, oh, coffee makes you have to shit, and it usually doesn't bother me, but. It's like a mental thing. Like if I want it to be that accelerator.
It's like a sports thing where it's like, if you believe it, it's true.
Right. So this was probably, as I speak with my mouth full of a liquid, this is probably the best start to a show that we've had.
I agree.
Especially
because I didn't fucking plan anything. This was one of those weeks where like every day it was like, oh, the show's Thursday. Oh, the show's Thursday. I should get something ready. And that lasted until 10 minutes ago.
You're lucky that I'm even here. Well, maybe I'm bad luck, but because with any of these weeks where I assume you had Monday off, I had Monday off for the holiday.
Yeah, totally.
But that throws you way the fuck off because I mean, it's in most respects for me, it's a good way because it doesn't feel like it should be Friday already tomorrow, and it is. But when you're timing stuff, when you have stuff to do during the week, it's like, oh, Thursday's not for another, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. Holidays just make me feel like resentful that the work week is 5 days because it's like
that's the thing. Because
it should be a 4-3 split.
Well, and if anybody in power would pay the fuck attention, like. I guarantee if you look at like, I would say my numbers, we don't really have numbers, but if you look at like my production on a 4-day week versus every other week,
I'm robbing you blind.
I think I do like triple the work if I only have to work 4 days.
Yeah.
So like,
I'm just telling you, there's easily at least 8 hours a week that like you're paying me for that you probably shouldn't. And if we just agreed Monday through Thursday, everything would be cool.
That's an interesting thing. If you were going to a 4-day week, I don't know if I'd prefer Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday. Like, I don't know. I think I prefer the Tuesday through Friday simply from a standpoint that I really like football. So during football season, like Sunday night football wouldn't bother me like it does. Like,
I mean, you'd still have Monday night football too.
I know. So fuck it.
But primetime football fucking sucks anyway.
Let's go Wednesday through Friday. I'll work a 3-day week.
Yeah, I'll take that hit. I'm willing to make that sacrifice for the greater good. I don't know. It's that thing. Like, we have all the fucking, like, perks of, or we have all the negative shit of, like, a fucking industrialized hell future with none of the robots to do our work for us.
Right.
It's like, and everybody's broke. So we're like working more than ever and we have no money.
That's the fucked up thing is like my job, I probably could work 3 days a week and like it would be perfectly fine because there's not really a lot of things that you would need to be there 5 days a week for. But you have to be because just like societal expectations, like customers just expect that you'd be open, Monday through Friday. And it's like, well, my argument is if I went to a 3-day, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you'd get used to it eventually. Yeah. And you'd quit trying to call me on the days we're closed. But I don't know. What do I know?
I don't know. Should I read this story or do you want to just wing it for another 15 minutes?
Well, let's see. I do've got a routine on airline food.
I mean, I saw a like homeless shirtless person today try to fight a baby. I could talk about that.
Well, you can't mention it and not at least, expound upon it.
So, like, I take this walk. I've talked about it before. I walk all the time on my lunches. It's really rare that I sit down for a lunch. And so I was walking through the park like I normally do, and you know, we have a pretty, like most places, there's a pretty bad homeless problem because in our town, because nobody wants to solve it by housing people and giving them care. They just want homeless people to magically go away.
Yeah, just disappear.
Yeah, and so a lot of homeless people hang out in this park. Still a really nice park, but sometimes you get a guy like this. So I was like, walking across this river, and there's this couple in front of me, and they were pushing their baby in a stroller, and like on the far end of this bridge, this guy just like this really old dude, he probably like mid-50s at least.
I love that you say that. Really old dude,
yeah.
Like maybe 10 years older than you, Steve.
Maybe about 38 years old. No, I'm 30 now. I can't shit on you for being old on air. So yeah, he's like walking across the bridge and he's like thumping his chest and shit, and then he like sees the baby and he's like looking at the baby, not the couple, and he's like thumping his chest and like, yeah, what the fuck you want? And like they walk by him and he's just yelling at everyone, completely fucking out of his mind. And like I turn around after I get across the bridge, like fucking Ichabod Crane, like, is he still there? And he's like laying in the middle of the bridge, like just still yelling and like dropping homophobic slurs to anyone who can hear and the ducks around him.
So the moral of the story is 2 hours later, your boss calls your cell phone like, Ben, where are you? And you're like, I can't get back. My way is blocked.
No, that's the thing. Like my route, I cross like 3 bridges and it loops like around our river back up to like my main road. So I don't have to go back the way I came ever. It's like a circular.
Those are the best kind of routes because they're the most interesting. But
yeah, the park is all like weaved through our like trail system and stuff. So there's a lot of, bike riding and shit that happens through it. Like I said, it's a really nice park. There's a giant clock tower there. And another time, a homeless couple asked me what time it was by the clock tower. And I kind of just stared at them.
Are you sure it was a homeless couple and it wasn't Doc Brown and Marty McFly? Like,
you there, kid. Boy, what year is it? And I would still be like, look at the fucking clock.
See, I used to, our town has like a bike path that weaves through it, and some of it's like just like designated roads, but some of it has an actual like path. And our old house used to be like, it wasn't right on it, but it you could walk down to the end of our like alley and get onto the path. So I walked that all the time, and it's one of the few like really neat things that our city's ever actually like invested in. But when I tell people all the time that I used to like walk it and ride my bike and I'd walk my dogs, and when I ran before I got too fat to do that, I'd use it all the time. And when I'd be talking about it, people would be like, oh, but there's homeless people that use it. And it's like most of them, to be honest, like when I was passing the homeless people, and our town didn't have, a ton, but, you might pass 3 or 4 of them, any given walk. Which is 3 or 4 too many. But I was never really scared because most of them were completely. You'd just be like, "Oh, hey, how are you doing?" And they'd be like, "Oh, hey, how are you doing?"
Most most are literally just like you might get asked for change. And here's the thing: you don't even have to respond to that. You can just walk
and even
by
if you say like, "I don't have any," most of them are pretty cool. But it's the ones that are, have the mental illnesses or substance abuse issues, or they're on something actively at the time. But the thing is, you are way more likely to run into somebody that would pose a threat like that wasn't a homeless person. Yeah. But it's just very convenient for a lot of people to throw like the, all the blame for anything bad that happens on the homeless population because they can't really defend themselves. So
Yeah.
I used to get really frustrated at that. It's like, yeah, there's homeless people when I walk. They've literally, like, the worst they've ever done is say, hey, nice weather this morning. Like,
yeah, like most of them are just weird. Like it's pretty rare that I ever feel threatened.
And like I said, it certainly can happen. There was
totally,
you hear stories all the time about but
there was,
but the percentage of ones that pose a threat like that compared to the regular, I don't want to say regular people, but the non-homeless crowd, I'm not convinced that there's a higher percentage of violent homeless people than there are violent homed people.
Yeah, totally. So, there was one who was like by the bus stop that's also along this walk I do on my lunches. And like I listen to headphones all the time, pretty much whenever I'm out of the house. But like they're usually loud enough that I can still kind of hear what's going on around me. It's mostly just like music background noise. So I walked by this like homeless dude at the bus stop, and he's like kind of muttering to himself, but it turns into a chastisement of me. He was like, man, it's such a beautiful fucking day out here, man. It's so fucking nice, and you're fucking missing it.
Because your headphones.
Yeah, totally.
Nice
I was missing the nice day. I was like, okay, well, you have it. I always turn into Arthur Morgan from Red Dead. Like when I'm uncomfortable, it's like, well, you take care now.
That's probably smarter than what I would have wanted to say. Be like, oh no, I completely agree. It was so nice I had to leave my home to go for a walk to get some food to eat. And just like rub it in their face that,
and use my spare change to ride the bus.
And I'd still be being a dick like that as he's stabbing me to death for being a dick. Yeah. I'd be like, but, oh, you've got a knife, do you? Well, I've got 6 knives.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. No, but I get that. I always have, I use earbuds, not, over-the-ear headphones.
Yeah, same here.
But I always leave one side out, and it's kind of I prefer to have them both in, but it's more of a safety from being able to hear cars and stuff. If I
don't worry about that because I don't feel safe about cars ever. I would almost rather not hear it coming. But yeah, I
do like to hear the birds chirping and stuff in the morning too, so I get a little bit of that. But I rarely have both earbuds in when I'm walking.
I usually have them both in just because my headphones are they're Bluetooth wireless, but they're looped around so they can hang around your neck when you're not using them. And there's a little magnet where they click together. But if you only have one in, the other one hangs off and kind of drags your ear. It's like an anchor.
Mine are the same way, but it doesn't do that too bad. It depends on the shirt I'm wearing, and how much, if there's enough, if it's a normal cotton shirt, it holds it in place all right. If it's one of those athletic, kind of smooth, I don't know what, I have no idea what the fabric is, but if it's not a normal cotton shirt and there's not enough friction there, then it tends to do that where it'll slide down or slide back or slide. They drive me nuts. I've had a pair in my Amazon shopping cart for a year that have the actual plastic loop. I think the original Apple, before they had the AirPods ones, were like that. And so I'm interested in those because I feel maybe that plastic loop would hold them in place better. Even when I have both in, mine get really fucking annoying if you're working out.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to hold them in place, and they like to yeah. I don't know. The moral of the story is I'm just never happy with headphones because the wired ones were worse, but these ones are annoying too.
I like these ones a lot, except they're tough to skateboard in. They'll just pop out on their own.
It's amazing, how mobile your head is. Because I've thought about, and I even once I tried, I was at work and I was having problems with them. I'm I'll take this paper clip and just basically clip it to my collar so it holds it in place. But then that doesn't work because if you try to turn your head, you're tethered to your shirt. It's well, damn it.
Before this, it was the same brand. I think, I forget what the brand name, AKGs, and I had a wired pair, and at my old job, they fucking hooked to everything. It was unbelievable how fucking like magnetically troublesome these headphones were. And I had like daydreams about like a car fucking driving by me and my headphones just attaching to it and me being yanked down the fucking highway. You know,
I could see it happening. That's when I had my wired ones. I'd like be trying to mow, and you'd go to start the mower, and they'd like hook on the fucking pull string, and then they'd hook on the tree you walked by, then they'd
wrap around your neck, and you're like pulling you closer to the spinning blades like a fucking Indiana Jones scene.
Right, like everything, and it would be so fucking annoying because it would be stuff that, like, if I had a reason I needed to get this to catch onto that thing, I would never in a million years be able to get it to stick.
Yeah, totally.
I used to get so mad at that.
Yeah, it sucked. They were good headphones outside of that, but it's that thing of like, if you're doing anything remotely active, no, you're not. Right. Not anymore.
And that's about the only time I listen to stuff, is if I'm doing something at least remotely active.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, at my job, it's one of those things where it's probably frowned upon to like listen to headphones technically, but it's like nobody says anything. But so many people I work with are like, oh, I couldn't do that. I would be distracted. And it's like, that's the point. Like, like, you want to be here for this? Like,
yeah. I don't know. I take mine to work with me almost every day, and when I forget to grab them, like on my way out, that's the only other problem with the
I
ones.
get like genuinely mad. Like
yeah.
I'm never more upset with myself than like a day I forgot my headphones.
I'm kind of the same way, and it's just depressing when you sit down at my desk at like 9 o'clock and I'm like, I know I don't have them. But that said, at least 50% of the time, I don't end up listening to them. But I just want them there if I decide to.
Yeah. The other thing about these headphones is like their battery dies really quick. So I don't start listening to music until around lunch when I go on my walk. And then I just keep listening to music when I get back for the rest of my shift.
Random brand that I either picked up at the grocery store or Amazon. I can't remember where I grabbed them. And the sound quality's not great. The Bluetooth connectivity is not great. Like if you like wave your hand between the earbuds and your phone, it can break up. Like it takes nothing to interfere with it.
Yeah.
But the one thing that's awesome about them is that battery lasts for fucking ever, because I'll listen to them. I got them because I'll put them in at night when I sleep. I have like Spotify thinks my favorite music is like white noise, because I have one specific white noise playlist that I listen to every night. And so they'll last all through the night. And they don't usually stay in my ear all night because they'll fall out when you're sleeping. But they'll play all night, and then I'll go for like I said, an hour walk, and I'm using them then, and then I can listen to them all day at work if I want. I don't know if they'd last a solid 8 hours, because I take phone calls and stuff, so they get interrupted a lot. But they'll last all fucking day and all night. And then by the end of the day, they'll be pretty low, but I've rarely have the battery run out on me.
Yeah. They just lasted a while. I think they're just like, it's that thing where like some batteries, you can overcharge them real easily, and then they lose their capacity. They still do okay. They're still like a solid like 5 hours or 5 or 6 hours if they're fully charged, but it's also kind of finicky about when it is fully charged. Sometimes it'll just stop. Which is a shame, because in those moments where I do have to use the work bathroom, I don't want to hear that shit.
Hear that, right? Even if you're the only one in there, I don't want to hear myself.
I'm the only one who doesn't have to hear it.
Right.
Yeah, because it is one of those bathrooms with like that fucking 1-inch gap under the door, which I get is kind of like a pick your poison. Like, do you want everyone to know what nightmare you're living, or like, do you want to be like vacuum sealed with the smell? Like, it's like humiliation or death. You decide.
Right.
Poop pod.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to our shitty show.
Yeah, normally we don't do this, but You know, I had a story of my own.
Well, I'm out of my water, but you're welcome to do your story.
No.
No.
I'm cool.
No,
I'm cool
good.
with an old school. We used to do them on the video game podcast we did all the time,
chit
where
chat.
we would just have a ramble cast, and those were fun. Because
Those were awkward because we did a video podcast for those that don't know. So not only did you have to listen to this, but you'd be staring at our ugly faces the whole time.
yeah, that was fun when the Twitch chat was like, "Who are these fucking losers?"
I was always very awkward trying to like do, because we never got like honest people like that are just like, oh, I'm listening to a show and I want to interact. It was always like
Trolls.
either trolls or bots or both.
Yeah.
And
Bots don't bother me. That's just, that is consumerism. Like trolls, it's it's kind of a cop-out comeback, but the people who like gave a shit, it was a genuine like, well, how the fuck are you here? Like I know how me and Steve both got here, but why are you here? Right. That's way sadder to me. Is like if you're listening to us and you don't like us, that was always really bizarre.
Well, but in a very real sense, like you could be like, oh, it's sad that you guys are doing this show, but back then when nobody was watching, it's like, but you're here. Have even less to do, so it's to the point that you're just finding random streams.
Yeah, I feel like the internet in general is just this kind of like, it's just a series of like, there's probably a better analogy, but it's like Russian egg dolls, but it's like constantly circling back on itself of just people like calling each other losers. When it's like, you're all losers. We're all losers on here. Like even the fucking rich people suck. Like,
yes, there's some of the. Well, that's the point where it circles back. That's that bridge at the back of the what is it? A Mobius strip.
Like Elon Musk is one of the dumbest fucking losers on the planet, and people worship him. So who are they?
It is it can be and should be more sad, but to me, I think I got to the point where I just gave up, and it's hilarious. Like watching these people defend, him for one, but just all sorts of terrible stuff. And
it's just constantly like topping each other to be terrible on the internet, and I feel like I kind of like hit a old man point since I've turned 30, because you've known me for a while. I've been very like vitriolic and kind of outspoken about my opinions about shit, which I still kind of am, but I've realized like mostly maturity is just apathy and kind of detachment. Yeah. So like I joked earlier, like I just tweet about shit now. And it's like, because that's what interests me. Like watching you people fucking try to like argue about real shit, but like you're doing it terribly. It's like, I'm not
that's
interested.
That's what I mean, because the internet's this place where you could be like, oh my God, I just read this story about a crazy homeless man that stabbed a baby to death on a bridge in Washington.
Hey, that's my story. And that was a side note about pooping. That wasn't the main plot.
And within the first 5 responses, there would be some person that was like, well, yeah, but, I was at a restaurant once and this baby wouldn't stop crying and it was really annoying. So, yeah. It's like where they're like kind of defending a baby murderer. Yeah. It's like...
it is amazing the amount of like... to be how far you can stretch to be fair, it's like you don't need to be fair to everything, like
there's a both sideserism thing. That's like there's not everything has two sides, at least not two valid sides.
Well, I do think nuance is something that desperately needs to be addressed, because most shit does turn into a black and white thing. But again, like, Twitter isn't where you're going to figure that out. Twitter is not where you're going to figure anything out.
You know what? Life's been kind of weird since I really backed away. I haven't quit Twitter. I mean, the other day,
occasionally you drop a fucking dad joke that makes me go into a coma for 2 days.
But I've really stepped back from Twitter, and it's like, holy shit, that really is its own. Like, when you use it all the time, you get this like feeling like that's what.
There's a genuine, like, because again, it makes me feel like an old fart, but I get it now. What I wouldn't have understood when I was like 25, which is like, just fucking log off.
Yeah, well, but there's two sides of it, because another part of it is there's a bunch of stuff that I don't hear about or don't know about, and I can kind of see more from the side of how people like continue to have like pretty shitty beliefs about stuff, because if you're not connected and not paying attention, you only hear like bits and pieces, and it tends to be highly curated bits and pieces, because it tends to be through the mainstream media and stuff.
That's true.
So I've kind of been able to see that a little bit more. My whole thing is I just couldn't handle that. Like, social media right now, and for a long time, has been this constant, like, you have to be appalled and upset and angry about something 24/7
all the time. Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not wrong. There is stuff to be appalled and angry and upset about 24/7, but mentally, like, I just need to stop being mad.
Yeah, and that's coming from me, who, like, that's half my energy. The other half is Monster energy drinks. But no, like, I was going to say, like, my counter to what you just said is, like, yeah, people offline, because my fucking dad's side of the family, I've talked about them before. They're a bunch of fucking weird swamp Texas people with no cell phone signal. But, so, yeah, they do kind of regurgitate their own dumb bullshit. But that is very true online as well, which is what I've kind of learned, which is, like, people rarely go online and become informed, because like we said, there is no, like, nuance to opinions. There's no, like, nobody comes into a discussion to discuss things. They go in to win. It's it's to get the fucking ratio or whatever.
Yeah, and at least through those venues, and that's the thing that I've learned. If there's something I want to learn about, like, the internet's great for going on and, like, doing actual research, not what, like, celebrities say, or, like, I did my own COVID research, that kind of stuff. But there's a ton of
tweets.
But there's a ton of information out there that you can engage with and learn stuff. But that's not the method that most of us take on. So, and I'm just as guilty. I'm not saying, like, you guys are all doing it wrong. That was really the biggest driver of me kind of stepping away from it, is because I realized how much of, like, the bad habits I had.
And it's why, like, unless I'm talking about fucking football, you rarely hear me write anything on Twitter in a genuine voice, is because I realized, like, I was a part of it. Like, I was...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because that's, and I kind of had to take a step back, and I had to be like, I'm not going to, like, positively contribute to these conversations. I'm not going to be a professor of any of this shit. What good am I on Twitter? The answer is none at all. So crazy crab memes is what you get.
Which, to be fair, that's what I follow you for.
Right. And that's the thing, is, like, I'm not saying everybody has to be a part of those conversations. It's okay to be a fucking bullshit fucking joke account and just have fun and joke with, like, riff with people.
Although, to be fair, like, that's my, like, least engagement driving content.
Absolutely.
But that's because the other stuff, you're basically, what we tend to do is what you were just saying, is like, you'll go on, there'll be a tweet about some awful thing that you're going to be mad about. And so you'll tweet some quip about it, and then you'll get likes from people that are already like-minded with you. And it's not like people necessarily like you. You're just in this like frenzy.
You're in a bubble. Like you're.
Yeah. And everybody's going, yeah, I'm mad too.
And like, so here's an interesting example of this. And sorry to cut you off, but I've kind of talked about it the last couple of years. Like a lot of people, when COVID started, like skateboarding kind of had a resurgence in popularity because it was something people could do on their own when they're social distancing. You know, it's a fun activity.
Right.
You know, and I was one of them. I got back into it, and now I'm like, I haven't been as into skateboarding as I am now since I was like, 12 or 13. And now I'm like, I'm way into it. And unfortunately I'm older, so I can't do it as much without like my body hating me forever. But, like part of the thing that drew me back into it was like just how positive the scene had become. So it's like an online community where most people are very like all skill levels. It's just like everybody loves this and everybody watches videos and like, man, that was awesome. And, oh, I got some skating in on the weekend. It was great. And like, it's just it was a really positive thing that kind of like, again, makes me sound old, but like you needed it.
Yeah, and I noticed that because I never got into, I still kind of want to, and maybe one day I will. But I wanted to get into skating. We've talked about that. I bought a skateboard, like an actual like custom built, like I had it made to my specifications, that type of deal.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time watching videos and in forums, not necessarily like participating in forums, but reading them.
Yeah.
And one of the very common things, because this is what I was going through, I was 38. I'm 40 now, but I was 38 when I was like, I think I want to get into skateboarding. Mm-hmm. But of course, a part of you, and then the hilarious thing was about 4 weeks, a month or so after I bought my skateboard, there was a commercial that came out, and it was a guy my age driving. It was a car commercial, but he was driving a car, and it was one of those where they just show him driving, and they're kind of doing the thoughts in his head. You may have seen it, but it's like, is 40 too old to learn skateboard or something like that? Yeah. And Tara just started laughing at me. But it's very common when you're older and you want to get into that. Your fear is that like everybody's going to make fun of you. And what I found is the community as a whole, you're always going to have, people
assholes,
that no matter what you do in life, somebody is going to make fun of you for it. Like there's people that like make fun of LeBron James when he like wins a championship. And it's like,
that's the thing. He's like the greatest basketball player now. And you'll find one of the comments will be like, hey, your hair's thinning, dumbass. Like, it's like,
right.
It's like, dude, you are you can't be helped. Like it's just in your DNA to be a dick.
So as like a clumsy guy that's only 5'6" and now overweight, like I've learned to just deal with those random, because there's just going to be people like that. But what I found is that as a whole, the community is just super excited and accepting of that because they just love when somebody else gets into the hobby.
Right.
Like
that. And that was something that wasn't even like true in like the big boom of like the 90s and early 2000s, because it was still very cliquey.
Yeah, well, counterculture-y, like they wanted it to be.
Yeah, which I think is important to kind of the DNA of skateboarding. Oh, there is a little bit of that, like, now there are more sincere reasons to it, but I think it's important for people at a young age to like at least hear another group be like, man, fuck cops, because it's
just at least question authority, because I'm one of these people. I'm not one of these people that's like complete anarchy, never follow the rules. In fact, I tend to almost always follow the rules. Yeah. But that is a very important lesson to at least question authority, because if you don't, you end up doing things like enlisting in the military and then slaughtering an innocent village of children and being like, whoopsie daisy, we had the wrong intel.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you do need to question.
Yeah.
Higher up stuff.
Yeah, totally. And I think skateboarding is just kind of like a early way where a lot of people get exposed to that. Because when I was a kid skating, like I got kicked out of places, and it's not, you only hear about the dramatic, like, I got in a fight with security guards and shit, but it's like, for most skaters, it's as simple as like, hey, you can't skate here. And it's like, well, that's stupid. And then you walk away. It's like,
eat another donut, pig. And then walk. Yeah, you got to say some kind of like disparaging thing to security. I work security, like we expect it. You got to, give them something.
Well, but, for me, it was always just like, dude, like, these steps are way better served skating than.
Nobody owns steps, man. They're steps.
Well, it was always
God makes steps.
Well, it's like, I'm just gonna wait for your car to leave and then I'm gonna come back. Right. So that was always my attitude. But anyway, so it's like it is a really like inclusive thing right now, and I think that's really cool. But the last couple weeks, I am starting to, because it's the internet, so the internet, like YouTube and shit, see that you're watching skate videos and they start recommending like channels and shit that are a little more like back to that shitty clicky attitude I hate. Where they have a problem with everything, they pick apart everything. Why are you skating this brand? Like, the only thing crazier to me than like brand loyalty in general is when somebody's like actively hating a brand while like wearing Nike or something. Yeah,
it's like the meme I saw today about it was an African American guy, like, and it said something about like racism, like, oh, you need to, racism is stupid, which it is. I get that, but he was wearing a Cleveland Indians hat while saying it, and the whole meme was like, like, the point is the hypocrisy of the, that one, and I could see that particular meme being picked up by the wrong crowd and be like, see, you could,
totally.
Turning into a racing. It was more, I thought it was kind of chuckle worthy from the, like, we all kind of do that where you don't realize, but.
And so like,
that's what the brand loyalty thing always comes to, because you're like, oh, those brands always suck. And it's like, yeah, but you're blindly liking this other brand. So when they come out and it turns out that they're like killing kittens to make their boards, and you'll suddenly find a way to defend that. That's where we get circle back around to that Twitter thing I was talking about.
So and like my bigger point with all this is just like, so even something like skateboarding, which has had this really great like inclusive boom period, it's the internet. So there is always going to be these sub communities for every interest out there, and there are going to be people who are going to be trying to profit with content within that sub community. So what they do is what we were talking about. They want to piss you off. They want to cash in on being pissed off, because that is what's going to generate the most interest.
Yeah, that's one of the easiest ways to drive engagement.
And what made me feel really old is when I realized I don't want to do that at all. Yeah. And I would rather just skateboard and fucking be cool with it and like let other people do their thing too. And not and like my ultimate point with everything as far as the internet is just like, you will only have the like energy and patience to have so many enemies in your life. If you try to make everything your current battle, and there's some stuff absolutely worth fighting for. What fucking like type of shoe is popular at the skate park today is not one of them. Yeah,
and kind of one of my other things was, even when you pick the right battles, if you really care, you need to invest your energy better than just being mad online, because you're not doing anything. You're just being mad online.
Yeah. Like, one of the, like I said, I was very much in that mold of like just constantly angry about everything, which I still am. I'm not saying like I hit 30 and I got all better. Like I'm an angry, miserable person, but I'm recognizing the things that make me angry and miserable, and realizing I don't have to engage with it as much, which means I'm not as fucking exhausted mentally all the time.
Exactly. Like I say, every time Ted Cruz opens his mouth, it's going to piss me off, but I don't need to like retweet about it and try to one up him or be smarter than, not that it's hard to be smarter than him, online. It doesn't do any good, and I'm wasting my energy, and I'm just keeping myself in a foul mood for longer than like just being like, oh, yeah, that.
When like in half the time you spent tweeting about it, you could have put in a donation against, like, for a cause that went against the bullshit he's spouting. Like, and you could have moved on with your life. It's
my favorite donation is there's a company where you can donate to who manufactures big anvils on rusty chains that they just keep above all your enemies. Like, that's a good investment.
Yeah.
I think it's called Acme Corp or something.
It's called Acme.
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that.
Murder, assassinations.
No, I learned. I just learned this probably off of Reddit. That it's a thing where people planning crimes will act like they're talking about something that's going to happen in Minecraft or in a video game. Like, that was a code, and then the FBI actually found out about it, so then they started monitoring all these conversations that specifically said in Minecraft. So, yeah, I'm talking about, these anvils on rusty chains in Minecraft, wink. Wouldn't that be a great plot, like, plan? Like, if you did, like, snap and become a supervillain or vigilante that was going to, like, exact justice, but you don't just, like, go out and murder someone. That's too easy and boring. You try to set up like the old piano falling out of a window or tunnel painted on the side of a rock, that kind of thing.
Set up a whole fucking Riddler puzzle inside a goddamn Minecraft level. So a detective has to play Minecraft for like 3 weeks to figure out what the hell you did.
I wouldn't hate it if in like 30 years that we're talking about, we're still doing our podcast. I'd hate that part. But we're talking about a serial killer that was known as the Wile E. Coyote killer because he took out these like high profile bad people with Looney Tunes-esque plots. Which is basically that episode we had forever ago about all the CIA's attempts to assassinate Castro.
Yeah. They tried it by like painting a wall in the middle of the road to make it look like a tunnel.
Yeah, to see if he had crashed into. They literally used a government operation to try to take him out with an exploding cigar.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, we talked about it at the time. I love this idea that like our intelligence community are like these super advanced, super spy, like they've got technology that you can't even dream of. But then you like read about the history of them and that's literally like Operation Boom Boom Cigar. And it's like, okay.
Is it weird? Like, I probably shouldn't be planning like fucking bomb assassinations in my head, like, and then recording it. But for some reason, my default, and surprise, surprise, why car bombs and shit? Like, wouldn't the best place to be would be the toilet?
Yeah, I mean, and
Lethal Weapon 2, that fucking hung them up forever. Even if you don't kill them, they're gonna take forever to defuse it. So,
well, and then you affect them for the rest of your life because whoever you are, if they survive, every time they take a shit, they're going to be worried that a bomb's going to go off, and
they'll squat over a hole like they do in China. Which actually I heard is healthier for you.
Yeah, I heard that too. But I've got my questions because I could see it in normal circumstances. In morning after Taco Bell circumstances, can you really tell me that what you described at the beginning of the show would have been better if you had to do it while balancing over top of a hole?
It would, well, I mean, it was like a fucking super soaker. So it was a pretty straight stream. It was pretty, I'm not joking. It was a horror show.
I'm just saying I've had those situations where I'm not sure that I would have been able to maintain muscle rigidity in my legs to hold myself up.
That's the thing. I just don't have the core strength. I would fall back into the hole and get like pulled in like a genie.
I'm going to write a whole fucking health book on this because I could make $1 million. Because you always hear, I've heard all these theories that like, oh, people in Asian countries have less obesity because of their diets. Bullshit. It's because they have to do squats to take a crap.
Yeah.
Like you're forced to do one of the like worst exercises all the time.
I always thought it would be really like it probably couldn't work because you kind of need the leverage of your feet being in a certain position, but the recliner toilet always felt like the most like despicable idea in the world to me. Like trying to relax while that's going on. It's like I'm gonna kick back
But you know what? A recliner toilet would be doomed for anybody that's parents because that's one of your like only escapes from parenting. And the only thing that keeps you from living in there is that your ass goes numb after a while and you're like, okay, God, I have to get up. This hurts. If you had a comfortable toilet that reclined, you'd just never come out of the bathroom.
Yeah.
Just be
then
like,
again, there's
sorry.
been some of those disaster shits where like afterwards you kind of do need to take a nap. And what better time than now?
Yeah.
That toilet doesn't exist. It will soon. That's
Homer
another shirt
invented one
idea.
on The Simpsons. Yeah.
We get like a lazy boy toilet. And that's all the shirt is just a drawing of that.
I'm trying to think of an appropriate level pun for lazy boy that incorporates the toilet part.
I don't know of a pun. Could be the lazy plop.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've thought a lot about shirt ideas. I've been trying to sketch concepts for the limey peppermint bastard shirt. I have some ideas, but like we talked about with that one, I want it to be like a real punk rock shirt. So it like feels like a band shirt. But
well, that's what you do is just out of, because one of the most valuable lessons I took away from art school as somebody who has sold insurance for 20 years instead is that it's always a better idea to like look up reference material. Like every now and then you run into some douchebag artist. It's like, if you use reference material, that's like cheating. That's color by number. No, they're fucking wrong. Always.
Especially when you have no experience making shirts. You should probably look it up.
Now, I'm certainly not saying do what a lot of lazy businesses do, where you look it up and just copy something that you find.
No,
but
that's what I mean is like I've mostly, so the shirt idea is really simple in my head because it's a couple of those fucking peppermint candies. And like I've just been experimenting with different font ideas for the name. Because I don't really think I've had some other ideas with the design beyond that, but like it's mostly just like, how do punk bands use fonts? Turns out there's a lot of ways. So I've just been trying to like play with it and see what like looks most fitting for that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to it because I really want a limey peppermint bastard shirt.
Yeah. And our last viewer probably did too before we talked about poop for the 6th time on here today. For anyone who did hang out with us, thanks for joining us on a very weird, random, non-essential podcast. But I had fun with it. Yeah.
The shitty chat.
The non-essential ramble chat when the internet ran out of stories. That's my excuse. I'm going to pass the buck. We'll be back next week, probably with a real story, but don't hold us to it. Who the fuck are we?
Maybe some like more content, less booze, but I don't know. It was a nice, relaxing
I
night.
know if I had a beer, I would have done better today.
Well, we'll try again next week then.